This marks the beginning of our adventure into the desert. Alright, it is 1:43 p.m. in the afternoon on this lovely Saturday in the desert.
Yep, December 19th.
Look at all these Joshua trees. Nothing but desert surrounds us. Rocks and trees. Take a moment to look at these rocks. This is what we're climbing into. That little rock area over there is our starting point. Let's remember that. We are on our way to that ridge, straight over there over the horizon. We are leaving the Joshua trees behind.
Yeah, this might be the dividing line between the Mojave and the Colorado Desert.
We still don't know where we're going, but we're going that way. Well, we have reached the ridge, and that is what's on the other side. More Joshua trees. It is now 2 o'clock, and we've reached some rocks that Scott is climbing, and another tree that is not a Joshua tree. Wow, he is way up high. All right, we are taking a break now for some water and snacks. Got to keep hydrated in the desert, even in winter, especially in winter. All right, our next journey, our next quest is going to be where Scott is pointing, that mountain over there. We're going to climb to the top. It is 2020, and what better way to social distance than in the desert? We have left the valley and we have now climbed up this little ridge area. And ahead of us, we have a desert mountain that we are planning on climbing. It is 2:55 in the afternoon, and we have gone from all the way down there to up here. We still have a ways to go, but we're almost there. There's some really interesting desert plants up here. For instance, that red one up ahead looks very pokey. Yeah, it's not something you want to touch. It is 3:07 and we have reached the very top of this mountain. And look at the view. Look at that desert valley down there. My goodness. So flat. So because we came all the way from over there, kind of down there where the parking lot is, we are going to go back down the mountain this way. It is 3:15 and we are heading down now before the shadow overcomes us. We are rock scrambling our way back to the car instead of going down and crossing through that flat area over there. We are taking a more adventurous route. More direct. Straight ahead over those rock mounds. We just climbed down those rocks. Accurate. And now we are climbing through there. Here we've encountered another cactus, a prickly pear. Look how perfectly round its leaves are.
Yeah.
This part of our journey is a little bit more trepidatious.
Trepidation!
Still a long ways back to the car. It is now 4 o'clock and the sun is setting in about 30 minutes. We are in this shadowy valley and we still have a ways to go.
Sunset in the desert, illuminating these rock mounds beautifully. Sun's already set for us behind these rocks here. Just about over that. Hello there, little Joshua tree.
It is 4:15 and we just reached the road.
Alright, it is 4:38. We've been adventuring out now for about 3 hours. We finally arrived back at our car. The sun is just setting right now over that way. We've now progressed to phase 2 of our Joshua Tree adventure. It is December 19th, 2020, and we are 2 days away from the Great Conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. So we're preparing our telescope to look up the night sky and see Jupiter and Saturn really, really close together. I'm not sure we can see them in the same frame with my telescope tonight, but who knows, we might get lucky. Alright, we're looking at conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. And it's perfect. You can see all 4 moons of Jupiter, which is Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, in order of their distance from the planet. And then above, you can see that kind of oval-shaped planet is Saturn. Not quite zoomed in enough so we can differentiate the ring. And of course we also have the moon just behind. Oh look, the shady side of the moon is cutting right through that beautiful crater. You can see it has a little dimple in the middle of it too. Huge mountains and valleys.
Yeah, more stars are starting to come out now. It's getting darker.
Yeah. Even with this mediocre camera, you can still just make out the two dots just above the horizon there. The brighter one is Jupiter. Just above it is Saturn. Almost completely come together from our perspective on Earth. Beautiful. And much above that we have the big lady herself, the moon. And not too much behind her, we have little baby Mars following up. Whew. Looking at the skeletal insides of a cactus, this kind of cool framework lattice must be in some way useful for either trapping or storing water in the very dry desert. Some kind of plant which is gone barren for the winter, but has this beautiful kind of branching structure. One central tube divides into 3, which look very similar, and then that just keeps dividing and dividing until you get those top branches.
Looks like something from the ocean.
It does. The beautiful and pokey cholla cactus, standing about 3.5–4 feet tall, shrubby little thing.
One of the only other plants we'll see out here besides Joshua trees.
Probably true. This here's a nice big succulent. Likely some kind of relative of the aloe plant. It has a good representation of the kind of fibers which make up most plants. These fibers are actually just long chains of sugar molecules. But when they're bonded in the right way, they're extremely strong and hard to pull apart. Very tough substance. Yeah, really tough. Ugh. Very hard to break. Oh, coyote.
Wow. A rare but lucky glimpse of a beautiful animal. Look at that thing.
Yeah.
Just trotting along. It's checking us out from a distance.
Yeah.
Making sure we're not a threat.
So this here is lichen, which is a non-vascular plant. Vascular meaning having veins or tubes. It's because they don't have any veins in order to move nutrients around. They have to be very, very small and simple. So there's like a thicker kind of bushier. We have here some different colors. Very bright green lichen on the rock. And orangey, beautiful orange and red. Got a lot of kinds all on the same rock. These species of plant are very hardy and are usually the first to colonize after like a wildfire. So after everything else has kind of died back, they're really good at kind of bringing the first life and preparing the way for larger, more complex plants and animals. And there's my wife. She is very vascular. She has veins and tubes everywhere.
Wow.
This is a great example of veins of different kinds of stone hidden in the main rock. So if you see it, you're bending down at the perfect angle. This vein extends all the way up, probably to the top or much further ahead. This vein of rock is obviously harder because everything else around it is much more eroded. You can follow this up. Yeah, very visibly different kind of rock. That is, so it's at an angle down, up and down the mountain like that. There's another good example in the rock. Once again, that vein is slightly more hard, so it takes much longer to erode. You can notice the pattern of the boulders. Almost they seem like they were stacked here by someone, but that's just the way that the rock cooled when it was first formed, and now it's kind of been exposed by weathering of the rock above it. One of the main methods of weathering and eroding rock down is the fact that water is one of the only substances that when it freezes into a solid form expands instead of contracts. And so as water gets into little rivets of the rock, little cracks, at night it would cool enough that it would freeze, and then the water expands, pushing open this crack a little bit more every time, and eventually it would split rocks perfectly, breaking them down further and further. That is a big part of the reason a lot of these rock formations look the way they do. Perfectly kind of organized. So we are now exactly in the low point of this little valley. You can see when rain does come, all of it flows down the two faces of this rock both ways. It meets right here and makes like a little river when it does rain. Rarely. It flows all the way downhill, following the easiest path down to the flats ahead.
Which is where we came from.
Correct. In this dry desert environment, it's really easy to see the areas of water flow. Like occasionally in the winter and spring when it does rain here, you can see all the rain tends to gather in these low-lying areas and flow down. You can see those are much more inhabited with like very dry, kind of dead brush, which probably had to grow up very quickly when they had access to water, flower, and make room for the next generation, all along that low-lying area where the water's flowing. But on the other hand, species that are accustomed to these environments, like the Joshua tree, seem to sprout up kind of randomly around wherever they feel like.